Think a 10,000 peso bill is shocking? How about a failing province within a failing nation printing their own currency just to survive? Yeah, that's right. Argentina right now. On May 7, 2024, the central bank wrote out a new note with 4 zeros on it. The peso, once a symbol of stability, has plummeted 71% when measured in gold since the beginning of this year alone. So technically, it's fell off a cliff, and it's fallen faster than the government can even print those zeros on paper. And if that's not alarming enough, the country is planning to introduce an even larger 20,000 peso note later this year. So technically, we're witnessing another hyperinflation in real time. This is something we're paying attention to. Let's talk about this. All right. Hope all is well. Wanted to take a quick minute and just share with you some recent updates on what's happening in Argentina in regards to the whole hyperinflationary event that they're experiencing right now, because it's becoming somewhat frequent that we're witnessing hyperinflations happening somewhere on this planet. And so since I've been rethinking the dollar and trying to educate people on monetary literacy, this is going on my third or fourth hyperinflation that I've actually covered on this channel here. Because at the core of all this is just a failed monetary experiment that happens to impact the lives of millions of people. And I'm of the mindset that if it can happen to people that don't have a world reserve currency, then unfortunately at some point it can happen to the people who rely upon the Federal Reserve note, aka the dollar. So as part of my research, I love to collect currencies, and so I have a 100 peso note here that I kept as a souvenir from my last trip to Argentina about 10 years ago. And it was at that point I knew that something was happening that sparked my curiosity. And that's what led me down rabbit holes studying currency and in particular monetary policy, and realizing that Argentina and the issues they have is not much different than ours here in the USA, apart from the fact that we have the world reserve currency currently. But I've done all types of videos throughout the past highlighting what looks like events that unfold every year or two, and it appears that there's one unfolding right now and has everything to do with the currency itself. And so as of now, it looks like Argentina's economic crisis has reached a point to where even a 10,000 peso note no longer is cutting it, because this 10,000 peso note bill is currently worth 11 US dollars. And that's not enough to distract from the bigger picture. This latest bill has been a desperate attempt by the central bank to keep up with skyrocketing inflation, which earlier this summer was hovering at around 290%. Because it's not just about making transactions easier, it's a reflection of a grim reality that the peso's value is crumbling faster than the government can actually print the currency itself. See, the country's history is littered with examples of currency devaluation, and the current situation is eerily reminiscent of past economic disasters. See, this peso here was introduced in 1992 and was supposed to stabilize Argentina's economy, because eventually, by the late 90s, the peso and the dollar was 1 for 1. But this single peso here is just another casualty of the nation's long-standing battle with inflation. Just the fact that Argentina is planning to release an even larger 20,000 peso note later this year only reveals the severity of this crisis they're experiencing right now. Ultimately, it's not just about inflation, it's a complete loss of faith in the peso itself. The most telling sign of the nation's dire economic situation isn't just about the introduction of these new banknotes. It's the actions of a small province in the northwest of Argentina. It looks like the hyper-economic fallout has been the most severe in that region there. When the president slashed federal cash transfers, La Rioja was left in financial ruin, leading the governor Ricardo Quintela to take matters into his own hands by creating his own currency. And in order to deal with the lack of fiat currency in circulation, he created La Chocha, a local currency designed to keep the province afloat. And you know it's bad when a country that's already experiencing hyperinflation because their national currency, the Argentine peso, is not worth anything. A small province goes about creating their own fiat currency with 4 zeros on it to circulate amongst the community. You see, the Chacho, named after the 19th century local hero, is being printed in denominations as high as 50,000 Chachos, with plans to circulate billions of these new bills. So to some, locally, it might appear to be a clever workaround, but it's really just a band-aid on a patient, unfortunately, that's bleeding to death. Because times are bad, people are lining up for hours to get their hands on these Chachos, only to go spend them as quickly as they get them, fearing that they assume might be worthless just as well. And unfortunately, this isn't the first time this has happened. See, Argentina's historical pattern has been failed national currencies, then local currencies pop up, which eventually fail shortly thereafter as well. So the introduction of the Chacho isn't just a local issue, it's a potential precursor to a broader trend across Argentina. Because if this experiment gains traction, other provinces might follow suit as well, leading to a further splintering of the national economy. At the end of the day, this isn't about just the peso or the local currencies popping up. This is about the overall health of the country in of itself and their need for something way more suitable to protect and preserve the people's purchasing power. And so the reason this is worth paying attention to, because we're witnessing a global failure of fiat at this current moment when you use a universally recognized measuring stick, which happens to be gold. So at this current moment, every national currency that's debt-based in nature is trending downward. And so here on the screen, you can see that the peso measured in gold has dropped 71% in just 1 year. And if you go 2 years, it's 89%. If you go 5 years, it's 96%. If you go 10 years, it's 99.55% when measured in gold. And if you look at the structure of this currency devaluation, it's not much different when you look at the USD measured in gold. So instead of 99% down over the last 10 years, the USD is down 49.24%. And so that means everyone who's held Federal Reserve notes, and if these instruments haven't been working for you, then you're losing out on the long term purchasing power that's not there. So the remedy to this crisis that Argentines are experiencing right now is similar to what we're experiencing here as well. All fiat currencies measured against gold is failing. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to actually figure out a solution to that problem. I'll leave the rest up to you. Anyway, here's to hear what you guys think. If you found value, hit that thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe, share this so more people can see what's really happening beyond their own little borders. Because what we're witnessing now is just not an isolated event. It's a global contagion that's unraveling. Anyway, curious to hear your thoughts. Check you later.